Somewhere in Melbourne right now, there's a person who knows exactly what happened to 6 women, and they have never been caught. Between 1980 and 1981, 6 women vanished from the same stretch of road in broad daylight while waiting for a bus. Some were 14, one was 73, and by the time you finish this video, you're going to understand why detectives still call this the most disturbing unsolved case in Australian history. Stick around till the end, because the final theory in this case is the one that police still can't rule out, and it might change how you think about the killer completely. This is the story of the Frankston and Tynong North murders, a case that unfolded across Melbourne's southeast between May 1980 and October 1981. 6 women disappeared. 6 women were later found dead, hidden in remote scrubland. And to this day, more than 4 decades later, nobody has ever been charged. What makes this case so unsettling isn't just the number of victims, it's the pattern. Every single one of these women was on foot when they vanished. Most of them were simply waiting for a bus in the middle of the day on ordinary errands, grocery shopping, church, a visit to a friend. None of them had a car. None of them saw it coming. This is a case about how easily someone can disappear from an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, and how long the people responsible can stay hidden in plain sight. The first woman to disappear was 59-year-old Alison Rook. On the 30th of May, 1980, Alison had car trouble. She told her neighbors she'd take the bus into Frankston shopping center instead. She needed to do some grocery shopping and had an appointment with a real estate agent. She left her home. She never returned. For weeks, there was no trace of her. No sightings, no leads, nothing. In a quiet suburban pocket of Melbourne, a 59-year-old woman had simply vanished off a public street in the middle of the day, and nobody had seen a thing. Police treated it at first as an isolated missing persons case. Tragic, but not necessarily sinister. That assumption wouldn't survive the rest of that year. On Sunday, the 10th of August, 1980, 73-year-old Bertha Miller left her home in Glen Iris, heading for a tram stop. She was a devout, regular churchgoer, the kind of woman whose entire neighborhood could set their watch by her routine. She never made it to the service. Bertha's disappearance sent a different kind of alarm through the community. She wasn't young. She wasn't out late at night. She wasn't taking any risks. She was an elderly woman walking to church on a Sunday morning. If it could happen to her in broad daylight, on a route she'd walked 100 times before, it could happen to anyone. Then, within the same window of months, 2 more women disappeared. 14-year-old Catherine Headland and 18-year-old Anne-Marie Sargent. A teenager, a young woman barely out of her teens. Both gone with almost no trace, no witnesses, no explanation. By this point, whispers had started. Was this really a coincidence? 4 women missing within months of each other, all in the same general area, all without a vehicle at the time they vanished? Then, on the 6th of December, 1980, everything changed. A group of men were dumping lamb offal on a secluded bush track leading off Brew Road in Tynong North, a remote, scrubby patch of land southeast of Melbourne. What they found stopped them cold. Skeletal remains. Not 1 set, 3. The remains belonged to Bertha Miller, Catherine Headland, and Anne-Marie Sargent. Bertha was found fully clothed. The 2 younger victims were found naked. 3 missing women, 3 bodies, found together, in the same patch of remote bushland, months after they disappeared. This was no longer a string of coincidences. This was a killer. And the horrifying part, police had no idea yet just how long this had already been happening, or how much longer it would continue. If you think that's disturbing, wait until you hear what happened over the following year, because the killer wasn't finished. 34-year-old Narumol Stevenson was a Thai mother of two who had moved to Australia only the year before. On the night of the 29th of November, 1980, she was in Brunswick, staying the night near a friend's home after an argument with her husband during a family visit to Melbourne. She was last seen outside that home in the early hours of the morning. She never came home. And unlike the other victims, her case would remain a mystery for years, because her body wasn't found until 1983. We'll come back to how she was finally discovered, because the way it happened is one of the strangest details in this entire case. 55-year-old Joy Summers had a routine. Every Friday, she went shopping with her friend William Cotter. But on Friday, the 9th of October, 1981, William had medical appointments booked and couldn't make it. Joy didn't like shopping alone, but she decided to go anyway. She needed to buy meat, and she wasn't going to let one missed Friday stop her. Neighbors saw her leave her home at around 1 o'clock, walking the short distance, barely 100 meters, to the bus stop at the corner of Chile Street and Frankston and Tynong Road. She was seen standing at that bus stop at roughly 1:20. And then, nothing. The bus driver on that route later said he had no memory of picking her up. She never arrived at the butcher's to place her usual order. Somewhere between 1:20 p.m. and the moment that bus pulled away, Joy Summers disappeared from a public bus stop on a busy road in daylight, and no one saw it happen. 6 weeks later, on Sunday, the 22nd of November, 1981, a man out collecting firewood in bushland near the intersection of Sky Road and McClellan Drive in Frankston North made a discovery that confirmed what everyone already feared. Joy's body was found in thick scrub, only about 3 kilometers from where Alison Rook, the very first victim, had been located. 2 victims, different disappearance dates, more than a year apart, found 3 kilometers from each other. This wasn't random. This was someone who knew this land, someone who had a system. By late 1981, police were forced to confront a chilling reality. This almost certainly wasn't a series of isolated tragedies. This was one offender, possibly working across an 18-month period, who had killed at least 5 women and who showed no fear of being caught. Analysts later found unsettling similarities between the cases. All the victims were last seen between roughly 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. All were abducted from the same general area east of Melbourne. 2 of them, Alison Rook and Joy Summers, were both taken around lunchtime on a Friday, both waiting for a bus on the same road, Frankston Tynong Road. Think about that for a moment. 2 women, more than a year apart, taken from the same road, at the same time of day, on the same day of the week. That isn't coincidence. That's a hunting pattern. And yet, despite the pattern, despite the overlapping details, police in the 2 jurisdictions, Frankston and Tynong North, had initially treated these as separate investigations. It would take time and mounting evidence before the cases were formally linked. Some investigators believed one person was responsible. Others theorized there could have been 2 or even 3 offenders operating in the same window of time. Nobody could agree. And while they debated jurisdiction and theory, The trail was going cold. Now, back to Narimal Stevenson, the mother who vanished from Brunswick in November 1980. Her case sat unresolved for more than 2 years. No body, no evidence, just a missing woman and a grieving family with no answers. Then, on the 3rd of February 1983, a car pulled over on the Princes Freeway in Tynong North after getting a flat tire. While the driver was changing it, he noticed something sticking out of the bushes nearby, a bone. He took it straight to Warrigal Police Station. It was confirmed human. Within days, the rest of Narimal's remains were located in that same patch of scrub, the same general area where 3 other victims had already been found, more than 2 years earlier. Think about what that means. For over 2 years, while police searched, while a family waited, Narimal's body had been lying less than a few kilometers from where investigators had already dug, already searched, already processed a crime scene for 3 other victims. The killer hadn't just returned to the same hunting ground once. He may have used it as a dumping ground for years, and nobody had any idea how many times. Here's what makes the Frankston and Tynong North murders so different from most cold cases. There was no single glaring mistake. No fingerprint, no surviving witness, no confession, no forensic breakthrough. The remains recovered were skeletal by the time most of them were found, which meant DNA technology of the era. Remember, this is the early 1980s, more than a decade before DNA profiling became standard in Australian investigations, simply couldn't do what it can do today. The offender chose victims who were vulnerable in the same specific way: on foot, without a car, relying on public transport, moving through predictable daily routines. A pensioner walking to church, a teenager, a woman waiting to buy meat for her weekly dinner. None of them fought a stranger off in a struggle anyone witnessed. None of them had time to scream where someone could hear. And the location, remote bushland scrub, minutes from busy suburban roads, gave the killer something devastating: privacy. A place close enough to abduct someone quickly, but remote enough that a body could lie undiscovered for months, sometimes years. Investigators at the time believed the offender likely had local knowledge of the area. Someone who knew exactly which back roads led to isolated scrubland. Someone who wasn't out of place driving those routes. Which means, in all likelihood, this wasn't a stranger passing through. This was someone who blended into that community completely. In 2017, Victoria Police increased the reward for information in this case to $6 million combined across the linked investigations, one of the largest rewards ever offered in Australian criminal history. And yet, despite decades of appeals, despite new forensic techniques, despite renewed inquests, nobody has ever been charged. The case remains formally unsolved, which means somewhere, statistically, it's entirely possible the person responsible lived out the rest of an ordinary life, grew old, maybe even died peacefully, decades later, having never once been suspected by the people around him. That's the theory that keeps investigators up at night. Not that the killer is still out there today necessarily, but that he may have spent the following 40 years hiding in absolute plain sight, in a normal life, with a normal name, never once connected to 6 of the most disturbing, unsolved murders in the country's history. 6 women, 18 months, all taken in daylight, in public, from routines they'd followed 100 times before. A pensioner walking to church, a 14-year-old girl, a mother trying to rebuild her life in a new country, a woman just trying to buy meat for dinner on a Friday afternoon. and more than 4 decades later, their families are still waiting for a single name. This is one of the reasons this case still unsettles people who study it closely. Not because of a single shocking twist, but because of how ordinary every single moment leading up to each disappearance was. There was no warning, no red flag, just a bus stop, a quiet road, and a stretch of scrubland that would keep its secrets for years. If this case kept you here till the very end, that's exactly the kind of detail that makes true crime investigators lose sleep. The ones with no ending, no arrest, no closure. Subscribe for more real, deeply researched cold cases like this one, because some of the most disturbing stories in true crime are the ones that were never solved at all.